So stacking 3 wins.
Well,
We had the discussion: are they going to win again at the end of the season? And I honestly didn't think they would. But what's the point? And we have the Knicks coming in. They're the hottest team to come into the building in a minute. Jalen Brunson is firmly ensconced as one of the top guards in the NBA, and the Knicks have leapfrogged both the Magic and Cavaliers for the third spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, the third in the East is kind of like, it's like New York's a good solid. They're a solid 3 in the East, but probably a 6 in the West. You know what I mean? If we're going apples to apples, but there's still maybe a 7 in the West, but it is New York, and they are coming in, and they are fending off those that are attacking. The Spurs on the other hand, are last in the Western Conference, and in the lottery yet again. So what's the point is my general thing here. But stacking 3 wins is enough, especially after the last game. Devin doing the stuff he needed to do. Keldon should be rested and ready to go. Wemby, we're closing the door on a rookie campaign that exceeded all expectations, but wins. This might be an opportunity. Now, the last time I saw the Knicks, they rolled in here last year, and Emmanuel quickly hung 40 on us.
It's not going to go well for the Spurs tonight. I'm sorry. I would love to pretend that they're going to get their 3rd win in a row for the first time this season. I would love to pretend that Wemby's going to go 5 for 5 or 5 by 5. I would love to pretend that all is hunky-dory and that it's just going to be a grand old time. The Knicks are way too good. You can diminish their success this season all you'd like, but I think you're a hater, and I think that you smell bad. But
objectively, you have to agree that the East is weaker.
Okay, that doesn't matter. I mean, because objectively, you have to agree they're a significantly better team than the Spurs, and they're going to prove that in spades tonight. Well, I mean, do you really think the Spurs have a competitive chance tonight?
Well, I think matchups are favorable, but the problem is they're not nearly tough enough to deal with a New York team that is playing with a chip on its shoulder.
Would you agree that those out in the desert, where Jason and Joe are, tend to know best?
There's a reason why where they're staying is nice and tall and glittery and with bright lights. Yes, I will agree with that.
So the Spurs are not the biggest underdog of the day. That would belong to the Hornets. They're 12-point dogs against the Warriors, but they are close. They are 9-point home dogs to the Knicks. It's just not. It's not going to be close, Rob.
Well, they've won 2 straight. The Spurs have won 2 straight. The Knicks have won 3 straight.
The Knicks have been a much better basketball team than the Spurs all season long.
See what now? I will be interesting to watch the ongoing Dante DiVincenzo hot streak. He set a Knick record the other night. I think, what is it, like 11 threes? Something ridiculous.
See, that's the other thing, man. The idea of Dante DiVincenzo and Jalen Brunson playing a March basketball game in the city of San Antonio does not suggest that they're going to play poorly. That's when they're at their hottest. You mentioned that they've won 3 in a row. They've won 7 of their last 8. I mean, they are their only loss was against Denver in that span. They're on
Toronto, if that's any indication, they are coming in hot. Wemby coming off his, an average fall out of bed 19-point game after a game off, but that 19
million turnovers.
Well, there were 6 turnovers. I do believe the numbers, and I'm glad you brought that up. And we know how the Spurs win games. At least this version is don't turn the ball over. It seems that some teams can overcome the turnovers because they create enough havoc, get enough steals, hit enough threes that, you can live with 13, 14, 15 turnovers because you're playing that aggressive style that's creating buckets that you wouldn't ordinarily get, but for the aggressiveness. So I get it sometimes, but the Spurs can't play that way. And the Knicks are going to come in rough and tumble. They're going to try to put the Spurs in situations, especially Wemby, to turn the ball over. They're going to give him a little bit of rope. The 19 points was a good sign because we saw the Spurs, other guys step up, and that I would like to see that. I want to see Victor look a lot like that Homer Simpson meme where he's standing against the hedges and just kind of backs up and disappears into the hedgerow. It's time for that, man. It's time.
You're saying on the season as a whole.
As a whole,
gone.
just kind of step
Okay.
away, fade away.
Because
Give us an Irish goodbye.
That makes more sense. Because that meme has become stepping into the hedges and then coming out like supporting a different team. So I know where you're going.
No, I'm just saying fade away. You don't have to say goodbye. We don't have to officially announce it. Maybe it's 19 minutes, then it's 16 minutes, and then it's a 14 minutes. Then it's a start, 3 minutes in the first half, 4 minutes and a half, and then next thing you know, Wemby's standing in some Givenchy garment that looks weird here, but it's all the rage in Paris. And we see him next wearing a French flag with a big chicken on it.
Over under 4.5 turnovers for Wemby.
Over.
Yikes.
I take the more.
That sucks.
Well, it appears to be Pop's cost of doing business. I think we have the old Pop. Wemby wouldn't have been in a game long enough to turn the ball over 6 times. In fact, on the 6th turnover, the bus would have been warming up for Austin for anybody in the history of the Spurs, but for this year. So he's going to be allowed to take that rope and either tie a knot or a bow. I don't know, but they're going to give him plenty of room to tie himself up. So I expect lots of turnovers. But, if they're aggressive with it and it's sins of commission, I'm down. I think that they've got a chance here. I think the
Knicks
are running a little hot. I think that anybody who's been following the Spurs saw what they did to Phoenix, and I think Phoenix woke up. Vogel ripped his team into shape, and they went up to Denver. So I don't think New York's coming in here expecting nothing. I do think that, and it is Wemby. They're not going to come in small, but I do think that the Spurs do at least have a fighting chance because they've been running a little bit hot. What do you guys think? 656-3776, 656 ESPN as we head down toward the pits of despair. 17 wins.
It's pretty tough, man. It's not going to get better, I don't think. I mean, we lie to ourselves. We cope, right? We bargain, and we say that this, that maybe they could win 3 in a row. Maybe this could turn itself around. It's not. This is too good of a basketball team that they're playing. This, I know that they beat the Suns, and that was cute and fun, but there's just no way. There's no way. And then it's not going to get easier against Golden State on Sunday or Denver.
No, but with that in mind, how much as coach would you push the fact that you guys don't want to be the worst team in franchise history? That you use this as nobody taking any minutes off. We are not going to set that record. I mean, or is it a foregone conclusion? And what's the point? And who really cares? And that's kind of the attitude I'm headed toward. Who really cares?
That's what I was about to ask you. You said if I was the coach. Well, if you were on the team, if you were Blake, your boy Blake, do you really care that you could be a part of? You've lost so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's 7 more? Is anybody really gonna lose sleep? Are you ever gonna in 20 years be like, damn, we set the record for fewest wins in franchise history? No, nobody's gonna care. Maybe Victor will care one day. That's it. Nobody else will.
And, it would make for a phenomenal story where you do truly get the worst to first. But unfortunately, it took 2 worsts and an all-time to write the proper plot arc that would take Wemby to the next. I think that there is some pride there. And I wouldn't want to be on literally the worst team, especially because most of these cats ain't coming back.
If it wouldn't compromise their ability to get better by way of the lottery, I would agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they're so deep into this that prohibiting themselves from that record isn't worth compromising the potential gain that they've been that they've been seeking through this entire process. They've been in pain for so long. You just have to endure a little bit longer.
In watching the tournament, I can tell you this: my attitude about Toronto's pick has changed. I want them to keep that pick, keep it. I'll use it next year, bro. There's just not a lot of there in this draft. The more I see, there's a lot of guys that can help, but there's not anybody that's going to change things. So, as I see Toronto sitting right now at number 5, and it's 6, I believe. Yeah, it's 6, and their pick is protected through 6, I believe. I don't want
Right.
that pick this year. I mean, if we do get it, it might be nice to, play with as far as a poker chip in a broader game. But as far as the talent that would go along with it, it just isn't. It just ain't worth it. I'm almost to the point where trade down. There's nothing. I haven't seen one guy that has played in college this year. I mean, there might be a Euro out there that I've seen Zabruder tape of, but I haven't seen one guy in college this year, except for maybe that kid from Illinois. But we got backdoor issues there. That would legitimately take a franchise and do something different with them. It's just not anything there. So go. I'm a big fan of Toronto. Hold on to that 6. Lose out. We don't want it.
Sure, but the Spurs also need to lose that as well. Again, we've come this far. Compromise. What are we going to compromise it for?
I'm on record, man. I would rather draft 12th through 20th than 3 this year, or 4, or wherever they end up. I'd rather be down later because I think you're going to get the same value, the same quality of player. So I think maybe the Spurs are seeing the same thing. So with that in mind, go win, man. Go get some. Don't be the worst. You can count on Detroit. Detroit will give you one. So really, all they've got to do is win 3 games.
I'm curious if other people agree. Once again, 656 ESPN 656-3776. Would it bother you, Rob? Would it bother you? Not if you hypothetical coach, not you hypothetical player, but would it bother you? Would you, Rob Thompson, be mad if the Spurs had the worst record in franchise history this year?
I think it would be if I'm Greg Popovich in my heart of hearts.
I'm asking
as
you.
Me, if I was the coach and I had
as you who like
just a regular dude like me sitting in my chair. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. But if I'm being paid by the Spurs organization, it's a damn disgrace. This is so far away from where we thought we would be the moment that the envelope was pulled, the moment that we pulled the Wemby ping pong ball. It's a damn disgrace. And when the season is over, I don't care how they wind up and Victor gets all the awards and he's better than we thought. This is so far away. So no, when we're done, that post-mortem meeting's going to suck because if I'm the boss, some of y'all ain't going to be back next year. This was as bad as it could have been, given as good as it was.
The meeting's going to be 30 minutes, and then everyone's going to move on with their lives. Nobody is going to let this sit with them for longer than the drive home. That's it.
The thing is, it's not about the W's and L's. It's about why there were so few W's. It's because why was this failed experiment allowed to continue for as long as it was? Why wasn't there more done at the trade deadline to at least maybe augment the future other than let's set a couple of vets free? I mean, why did we continue to kind of meddle with the 6th man for so long? Why is it taking so long for Malachi and Blake to kind of find their footing? Why isn't there more depth at big? I mean, I have so many whys, and there's not a lot of answers that came out of this year. So no, this is an unmitigated disaster. Think about how bad. I mean, we have Wemby, and we have literally the worst team the Spurs have ever had, with the best rookie we've had in 25 years, and by the numbers, the best rookie that's hit this league in 25 years. So, disaster, unmitigated from the city uniform brown warmups to the homies and going in Austin. It's just
you're being too dramatic.
No, I'm not.
You are, because those are fair whys, to be very clear, but they extend well beyond and way before the final 2 weeks of the season, and so like you started off saying, if I were Pop, before we had to, narrow this and say you're Rob Thompson, if you're Pop or if you're Brian Wright, I don't really feel bad for you. I don't really care that you are ashamed or whatever. You are the ones who held the brush this entire time, and you painted this masterpiece. You were the people who put us all in this situation. So I don't care. I'm apathetic about this whole thing. I'm with Cougs. Cougs says in the Brigade Bar, we're in that tough in between. I don't think I personally care about this season in terms of franchise record. So what? I mean, wow, we had the 2nd worst record in franchise history. Woo-hoo! Pizza party time. You know what I mean? Like, that's pathetic.
Well, at least you're not on the top of the list.
No, it's all pathetic. It's all pathetic. And again, rushing to get it all done in the 11th hour to get enough wins so that you're not at the top of the list doesn't mean that it was a successful season. It just means you put some lipstick on the pig. So you have very fair, claims of why, petitions of why, but those whys needed to be addressed, to your point, in February, in March, in November, last summer, the moment that the envelope was pulled and they found out that Wemby was coming. And that doesn't mean that the future is doomed or condemned either, but it means that this season was completely in their hands. And so whether they finish with 19, 20, 21, God amazingly 22 wins, it doesn't change anything. It's already what it is. It's a failure of a year. It was a throwaway of Wemby's rookie season.
Yeah, unmitigated disaster. But
it wasn't unmitigated. It was consciously mitigated. That's the worst part.
Well, no,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't know if there was
unmitigated implies that there was some level of disaster outside of their control. They signed up for this. They did nothing to improve the roster. So this blood is on their hands.